Before he became one of Africa's most feared rulers, he was an outcast. Rejected during childhood, forced to grow up away from the royal court, and underestimated by nearly everyone around him, few believed he would ever amount to anything. Yet, within just a few years, he transformed a small and struggling chiefdom into one of the most powerful kingdoms southern Africa had ever seen. His armies changed the way wars were fought. His strategies reshaped an entire region. His name inspired loyalty in some and fear in others. Even today, nearly 2 centuries after his death, historians continue to debate one question: was Shaka Zulu a visionary nation builder or a ruthless conqueror? This is the extraordinary story of the man who forever changed African history. Long before the modern nation of South Africa existed, Southeastern Africa was home to dozens of independent communities. Each had its own leaders, traditions, and territories. Some traded peacefully with their neighbors, while others competed over grazing land, water, and influence. Among these communities was the Zulu, a relatively small clan that held little power compared with larger neighboring groups. No one imagined that this modest chiefdom would one day become one of the most influential kingdoms in Africa. And no one imagined that its future would rest in the hands of a boy who spent much of his childhood as an outsider. Because his parents were not formally married, his birth was surrounded by controversy. According to many historical accounts, both Shaka and his mother faced rejection and were forced to leave the royal household. Growing up away from the comforts of the royal court, Shaka experienced hardship from an early age. Instead of living as a prince, he learned what it meant to struggle. Those difficult years shaped his character. They taught him discipline, endurance, and resilience, qualities that would define his future. As he grew older, Shaka entered the service of Dingiswayo, a respected regional ruler. There, he trained as a warrior and quickly distinguished himself through courage, intelligence, and an extraordinary ability to lead. For the first time, people began to notice the young man who had once been overlooked. In 1816, Shaka's father died. The succession was uncertain, and the Zulu chiefdom remained small and vulnerable. With Dingiswayo's support and his own growing reputation, Shaka secured leadership of the Zulu. Many expected little to change. Instead, everything changed. Shaka understood that if his people continued fighting the way they always had, they would remain weak. If the Zulu were going to survive and thrive, they needed to become something entirely different. He didn't simply inherit a kingdom, he reinvented one. Reinventing war, most warriors at the time fought with long throwing spears, often engaging from a distance before retreating. Shaka believed this approach lacked discipline and decisive action. He introduced a shorter stabbing spear, known as the Iklua, designed for close combat, and equipped warriors with larger shields that offered greater protection. But weapons alone did not make his army extraordinary. He reorganized young men into permanent age-based regiments. They trained together, lived together, and developed remarkable discipline and coordination. Shaka also refined battlefield tactics into a formation later described as the horns of the buffalo. The strongest warriors attacked from the center, while faster units swept around both sides, surrounding opposing forces before they could escape. It was a strategy that combined speed, coordination, and precision. One victory followed another. Soon, neighboring communities realized they were facing an army unlike any they had encountered before. Military victories brought more than land. They brought influence. As Shaka's power grew, smaller communities chose different paths. Some resisted, while others joined his expanding kingdom through alliances or incorporation. The Zulu kingdom grew rapidly, but expansion came at a cost. The early 19th century was marked by widespread conflict, population movements, and political change across southern Africa. Historians continue to debate the causes of these upheavals and the extent of Shaka's responsibility. While his campaigns undoubtedly contributed to regional change, scholars also point to environmental pressures, competition among states, and other political factors. What is certain is that the political map of southern Africa would never be the same. As the years passed, Shaka became one of the most powerful rulers in the region. But leadership also brought enormous pressure. In 1827, tragedy struck when his mother, Nandi, died. Historical accounts describe Shaka as being deeply affected by her death. Some sources suggest that his behavior became increasingly severe, though historians continue to debate the accuracy of later descriptions. Regardless of where the truth lies, tensions within the royal court continued to grow, and those closest to him began to fear what might happen next. In September 1828, Shaka's remarkable journey came to a sudden end. He was assassinated by his half-brothers Dingan and Milangina, with the support of members of the royal court. The man who had united kingdoms, transformed warfare, and reshaped an entire region was gone. But the kingdom he built remained. His successors inherited a state unlike any that had existed before. Nearly 200 years later, Shaka Zulu remains one of Africa's most influential historical figures. To many, he is remembered as a brilliant military innovator who united scattered communities into a powerful kingdom. To others, he represents the dangers of absolute power and the human cost of relentless expansion. Modern historians continue to separate documented history from legend, recognizing that early European accounts often exaggerated aspects of his life, while overlooking the broader political context of the time. What remains beyond dispute is his impact. Few African rulers transformed their societies as profoundly as Shaka did. His military organization influenced generations. His kingdom shaped southern African history. And his story continues to inspire books, films, television series, and historical debate around the world. History rarely remembers those who follow the ordinary path. It remembers those who reshape the world around them. Shaka Zulu rose from a childhood marked by hardship to become the founder of one of Africa's most powerful kingdoms. Through determination, innovation, and extraordinary leadership, he changed the course of southern African history. His legacy is complex, celebrated for state building and military genius, yet also examined for the violence associated with his rule. Perhaps that complexity is why his story continues to matter. Because history's most influential leaders are often remembered not for being simple heroes or villains, but for the lasting impact they leave behind. And centuries after his death, the name Shaka Zulu still stands as one of the most powerful in African history.